My breakfast today was dark chocolate and a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos. It's just one of those days. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We have a fun long one today. We are going to be doing my top 3 current makeup products in each category. So my top 3 primers, my top 3 foundations, yada yada yada. This was tricky and difficult and I feel bad leaving some of my other favorites out, but we had to be ruthless, we had to be cutthroat, we had to make some hard choices. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it because this video is going to be a million years because I don't shut up. So I have to be quick and concise, All right, I'm going to try to go in the order that I would do my makeup. So starting off with primers. Recently, my favorite type of primers are going to be either sticky grip primers that are going to help prolong the longevity of my makeup or a color correcting primer. So for sticky grip primers, say that 5 times fast. Sticky grip primer, sticky grip primer. The e.l.f. Power Grip, of course, is probably the most intense longwear, like sticky primer in my collection, and it really does help and is a lifesaver for those days when I really want my makeup to last all day. This year, CoverGirl launched the Skin Enhancer Sticky Grip Primer, which is sticky and does help extend the longevity of your makeup, but it's a little bit less intense than the e.l.f. and a little bit more hydrating. So on an everyday basis, where I want my makeup to stay in place, but I want also my skin to feel a little bit more hydrated, this is what I'll be reaching for. So they're both great. They're just kind of for different purposes, even though they're the same purpose, like slightly different. You get me. My favorite color correcting primer is not really from a makeup brand. It's actually from more of a skincare brand, Hero Cosmetics. Their Rescue Balm, their color correcting green cream. This is amazing for canceling out redness in your skin. It absorbs into your skin like a lotion, so it doesn't give you a really thick feeling on the skin. You can't really detect it once it's blended in, but I do find that it makes a pretty noticeable difference when it comes to reducing my redness, especially around my nose. So even on days when I'm not going to be going in with foundation, I do like to apply this because I feel like just overall it makes my skin look more even and not as red. So this is an amazing product. I've tried other color correcting primers, but this is by far my favorite. I have 2 old favorites that are not going to surprise you if you've seen any of my videos. The NARS Light Reflecting Foundation has been probably my holy grail foundation for a couple years now. It's just so good. It is literally everything I could ask for in a foundation. It makes your skin radiant without being greasy or oily. It wears all day long, literally all day long. 8 hours later you look in the mirror and it is not separated, it has not overly creased, it is just still flawless. It's just so good. I can't say enough good things about it. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend getting a sample because I think it's a very like universal foundation. I think it'll work for a lot of different people. This foundation is actually very similar in that it does give you a glowy finish without being greasy or oily, and it wears a really long time. Gives you good medium coverage, just like the NARS. This is the Maybelline Super Stay 24-hour skin tint. It's not really a skin tint, it's more of a traditional like medium coverage foundation, but again, it is beautiful on the skin. It wears exceptionally well and it doesn't feel greasy, oily, it dries down, but it's not drying. Just so good. If you don't want to splurge on the NARS, I think this is a really great alternative. The last foundation is sort of a cheat because I do not have the full foundation yet, only because I have so many foundations I'm working through that I don't want to like purchase a full new foundation because it takes me so long to get through a foundation because I'm just constantly rotating through my foundations and I don't wear them on an everyday basis. So I'm just putting off purchasing it until I like work through a couple of the ones I already have. But I will be purchasing this because it's up there. This might be like new top 3 foundation. I mean, it is top 3. Duh, I'm doing that video. It's like rivaling my NARS. That's how good it is. It's the new Fenty Soft Lit Hydrating Longwear Foundation. This is amazing. Literally amazing. It's the foundation I'm wearing on my skin today. It's hydrating without being greasy. It's more hydrating than NARS or the Maybelline. This one looks glowy without having like mica in it or any sort of light reflecting pearl. This one is actually glowy because of the hydration that's in the formula. So if you have dry skin, this is going to be the most dry skin friendly. However, it is so long wearing. I have not found a foundation that is as hydrating as this, that wears as long and as good as it does on the skin. Gives you great medium long coverage. It's just beautiful, 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 beautiful. Can't say enough good things about it. Probably like one of my favorite launches of 2024. Excuse my hair today. It is a disaster and I don't have the brain power to fix it. Moving along to concealer. My favorite concealer this year that has launched, there hasn't been that many concealers that have launched this year, I feel. The L'Oreal True Match Radiant Serum Concealer. This, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm very picky when it comes to concealer. I have hollowness under my eyes. So what I look for is not only a concealer that is going to conceal darkness, but also a concealer that's sort of going to smooth out that area because of that hollowness. And a lot of times concealers can almost accentuate that, especially if they're hydrating, and I do have more dry skin, so it's just a battle for me. This one is great because it is hydrating without being greasy, and it gives you a good light to medium coverage. So this is like a perfect everyday concealer. It sets down by itself, so if you have dry skin like me, you don't have to set it with powder, which I find to be nice because for one thing, it's quicker, and for another thing, if I can avoid a powder, sometimes that is ideal for my skin type. Also really like that it doesn't excessively crease on me. I have a pet peeve with concealers that crease. Most concealers will crease a little bit, but this one is very good at resisting those creases. Another favorite from the drugstore, the Joah Perfect Complexion Eye Serum Concealer. I don't know if you can see, but I have used this thing to the bitter end. I have two shades, FC045 and LN035. I kind of mix the two depending on how fair or tan I am. This has a sponge tip applicator, which you will either love or hate. I actually find it pretty convenient, and it actually does a great job of making sure you don't over apply. Sometimes a doe foot applicator can pick up a lot of product and you find yourself with way more concealer than you actually need. The sponge kind of does a good job of just giving you a sheer amount. So I kind of like the sponge, even though it's not probably the most hygienic. I love this concealer because it's the perfect middle of the road concealer. It's not too sheer, it's not full coverage, it's sort of in the middle, it's not too dewy, but it's also not super matte. It's like a perfect natural skin-like finish, but it's very, very smoothing under the eyes. It's kind of like Spanx for your under eyes. It just makes them look so smooth. I can't think of another adjective, just smooth. Probably my favorite concealer out of the three just because it's so versatile. But I do have one more for those more glam occasions, the Natasha Denona hy-glam concealer. This is the perfect high coverage hydrating concealer. A lot of times high coverage concealers are very matte and not really dry skin friendly. It's sort of like a creamy consistency that stretches really far but somehow doesn't lose pigment even if you spread it out. I will say I don't think I have the perfect shade for me at the moment. Both of these are a little bit too yellow and light for me. The shade range is great. She has a lot of different shades and undertones to choose from, but I will say it's kind of hard to pick a shade online. It does crease on my skin. That's the one complaint I have about it. Out of the three concealers that I've mentioned, this one does crease the most, but for the amount of coverage that it gives and for how flawless it really makes your under eyes look, I will give it a little pass on that note. For powder, I have loose powders and pressed powders. I had to give two categories because I like them for different reasons. Plus, I can include more products. Don't kill me. An OG favorite that I will never, probably not have in my collection, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. I've gone through multiple of these. It's just a really great setting powder that doesn't alter the finish of your foundation. If you want to set your makeup in place and make it last all day, but you want to still have a radiant skin-like finish, this is going to give it to you. Dry skin friendly, and even though it says Halo Glow, it doesn't have glitter or sparkle in it, so don't be scared that you're going to look like you just put loose highlighter all over your face. One for a like porcelain doll, super airbrushed occasion is the Sigma Soft Focus Setting Powder. I have the shade Vanilla Bean. This is the powder that I'm wearing today when I'm doing something more glam. This powder is magic. It has a tint, so it does kind of add a little bit more coverage, but not excessively so. It's so smoothing, so blurring. I think it's such an underrated product. I really, really love it. And then the last powder I wanted to mention, the Rare Beauty Loose Setting Powder. I don't know the full name, but I will put it in the description box down below. I have the shade Light. It has a little bit of a very subtle pink undertone, but it's not super apparent on the skin. The packaging of this powder, I just want to point out, is super cool because it has this little stopper, which is nice because then you just kind of tap a little bit out and then you can close it and it's not super messy. The one thing I will say is that once you tap some out, you can't put it back in because of the stopper, so Just beware you don't take too much out. But I do think it's a cool idea. I've never seen a powder like that before, so I appreciate the innovation. It's very similar to the e.l.f., probably a little bit more like fluffy. The e.l.f. is more thin. This one has a little bit more substance to it, but it never looks heavy on the skin. It's actually very, very undetectable, and it's a very dry skin friendly powder. So if you have trouble finding powders that are dry skin friendly, check this one out from Rare Beauty. It's not going to give you a glow like the Halo Glow, but it's not going to super mattify you either. It's just like a setting powder when you don't want to look like you have setting powder on, if that makes sense. So wanted to give that one a shout out as well. All right, moving along to pressed powder. The Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection absurdly long named pressed powder. I have the shade Light. This little beautiful black pebble is probably one of my favorite items in my makeup collection. This doesn't look like much in the pan. It kind of looks like chalk. It kind of feels like chalk, but there's something about this powder. This is the most blurring, smoothing, undetectable powder there is. It is pricey, but it's worth every penny. Honestly, if you have dry skin, if you have mature skin, and you literally find that no powder works for you, try this, because it will set your makeup. It will blur your pores like nothing else. It's very, very, very good. That's it. It's just very good. On the opposite end of the price spectrum, the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop mattifying powder. This is also really amazing. I have the shade Light. I would say this is a very similar product to the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder that everyone loves. It's a very velvety powder. It gives you a little bit of coverage. It's not as heavy as a powder foundation, but it's a little bit thicker than like the Pat McGrath or some other pressed powders that you might try. It does give you a little bit of coverage. There's something about it that just looks very smooth and like airbrushed on the skin. It's a great touch-up powder. It's good for setting the T-zone. I don't find it to dry out my skin, even though I do have dry skin. It's just something that's stuck in my routine for years at this point, and I find myself still reaching for it all the time. Last but not least, the LYS Triple Fix Translucent Setting Powder. I have the translucent shade. Translucent shade in, it's just called Resilience. This is a great powder. Again, if you have dry skin, you don't want extra coverage like the NYX, but you also want something a little bit more hefty than the Pat McGrath. I would say try this out, and it's also much more affordable than the Pat McGrath. LYS is sold at Sephora, but it's definitely much more affordable. It locks your makeup in without looking powdery or chalky. It's just a great no frills, dry skin friendly setting powder. And I kind of forgot about it for a while, but I recently pulled it back out and I've just been using it like crazy. This is like a everyday setting powder for me. This is like when I really want my skin to look poreless, and this is like when I really want to kind of amp up the coverage and give me that doll-like skin effect. Let's move on to highlighter. The highlighter I'm wearing today, and the highlighter that I've basically been wearing in every single one of my videos for the past month, is this Demi Glow Light Diffusing Highlighter from Fenty Beauty. I have the shade Prosecco, which I believe is the second lightest shade. You guys, this is gorgeous. I think this was limited edition, and I don't know why. I really hope that Fenty keeps this around because it is so stunning. It's intense, but it's intense without looking chalky, without looking glittery. It just melts into the skin. The longer you wear it, the better it looks. I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. I really hope Fenty keeps it around forever because I want to keep repurchasing it until the day that I die. Extreme, but true. I won't stick too long on this one because this everybody and their mother talks about, and I've talked about for years and years, but the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter in the shade Be My Highlight. This is the most perfect lit from within, everyday, natural. Is she wearing highlight? Is her skin just amazing? This is that highlighter. So great for the price and just so great in general. Last but not least, one of my all-time favorites, the Revlon Skin Lights Daybreak Glimmer. Whenever I don't know what highlight I want to use, this is kind of the highlight that I go for because it's just stunning. It's very similar to the Fenty, but the Fenty is more glass-like. This one is more intense. If you don't want to look like you're wearing highlighter, this might not be for you, but it's not sparkly and it does really melt and buff into the skin beautifully. I've had it for years now and it's still one of my favorites. There's something about the shade, there's something about the formula that is just so good. Can't be beaten. All right, let's move on to bronzer and blush. I didn't have a cream or liquid highlight, but I do have cream, liquid bronzers, powder bronzers, cream, liquid blushes, powder blushes. Hope that makes sense. So let's start off with bronzer. Two formulas that I tried this year that I've really been enjoying. The first is from Makeup by Mario. This is his Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. This is a new like holy grail product in my collection. You can pump it out to use all over the face or to mix in with your foundations to give them a little bit of glow, to deepen them up slightly. You also get a doe foot applicator, so you can use that for more targeted application. Honestly, I find the doe foot doesn't pick up that much product, so I do prefer using the pump, but I just think this is the most skin-like, hyper-realistic bronzer I've ever tried. It's very sheer, so if you want a super pigmented, punchy bronzer, this is not going to be the product for you. But if you like a very no makeup, translucent sort of makeup product that still has pigment, this is amazing. It's so gorgeous, and I love the multi-functional aspect of it. I did use it quite a bit in the summer to deepen up my foundations that were too light for me. Whew, I need water. Look at this little ghost. Isn't that so cute? I love him. The other bronzer I tried this year is the Dew Bronze Liquid Bronzer from Say. I have mine in the shade Salt, which I believe is the second lightest shade, or like the more cool tone version of their lightest shade. I really actually like the tone of this one because it's not gray. A lot of times cool tone bronzers just make me look like a corpse, and I'm not really about that life. It just doesn't always look the most flattering on my complexion. So I like this one because it's not orangey. It's just a very unique color, very unique. It has a slight like reddish undertone, I would say, but not overly rosy. Similar to the Makeup by Mario in that you can see your skin peeking through it. It has a little bit of that translucency to it, but it's more pigmented than the Mario. It looks very skin-like and dewy while still wearing all day long. When I heard the name Dew Bronze, I thought it was going to be just very slippy, slidey, fade off in 5 seconds, but it actually doesn't. It kind of sets down. I was super impressed by the longevity of this and the fact that it still looks like a super dewy product without having that greasy, dewy feeling and without having that super short wear time. So I was really impressed by that. The only thing I will say about this is that you can't layer it up or else it can get patchy. You kind of just have to go with the one layer, because if you try to start building on top of it, it picks up the product underneath. So not a perfect product, but I do really, really like it. Last but not least, for cream bronzer, my OIS No Limits Cream Bronzer Stick. I have the shade Motivate. This used to be the lightest shade, but they have recently expanded their shade range, and there is one shade lighter than this, which I do want to try out once I'm out of this one. But this thing has lasted me so long, and I do use it quite a bit. This is the most buttery, creamy, pigmented cream bronzer I've ever had. It's very, very pigmented, but it blends out in 2 seconds. You don't have to do any scrubbing. It just works. Love it. It's my favorite warm, toasty summer bronzer shade, so I'm probably not going to be reaching for it as much as we head into the colder months, but it's such an amazing, creamy, buttery formula that I just think is super delicious. Moving along to powder bronzers, the Essence Contouring Duo Palette. There's only 2 versions of this, which sucks. I have the lightest one called Lighter Skin. This is the bronzer that I'm wearing on my skin today. I really love the tone of this bronzer. This shade in particular, it's a very neutral, fair brown. It's super hard to find shades like this in a bronzer. Usually they're very orange, very yellow, very pink. This is just the perfect tone, and I also love how velvety smooth this is. It's very pigmented, but it blends so easily. And I also like that you get this lighter shade here, because if I don't want the full like opacity deep pigment of this, I will mix them, and it's very customizable in that way. You don't get a lot of product in this, but it's very, 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 very affordable. Honestly, the texture of it, the formula of it feels luxury to me. The last 2 are old favorites, and honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just love these baked bronzers from Flower Beauty. These are their Heat Wave Luminous Bronzers. I have 2 shades, Sunswept and Sunrise. Sunswept is more warm and Sunrise is definitely more cool toned. It doesn't look gray on the skin though. It kind of has a little bit of a rosy undertone, but it still works with my complexion. It's the most beautiful, like natural, luminous finish on the skin. Every time my makeup's looking flat, I use this and it saves the day. Similarly, the L'Oreal Lumi Bronze It bronzer, old favorite. I have the shade Light. It is so smooth. It's not a baked formula like the Flower Beauty, but it still gives you that very skin-like luminous finish to the skin without being glittery. It's just amazing, amazing product. Had it for years and it's just still stood the test of time. I think products that are older, that are still my top 3, really show you how good they are, because I'm constantly trying new things. So if these things are sticking like in the top tier, you know that they're good. Moving along to blushes, the Nudestix Nudies Matte in Beach Babe. I think this is technically a bronzer, but I use it as a blush. It's the perfect, deeper, brownish, reddish, nude blush that I was using like crazy in the summertime to give me that sunburnt sort of a look. I love the tone of this. I love it. I love the tone of this. It's just amazing. A similar tone is this Say Dew Blush in Spicy. This one is slightly more deep and less red than the Nudies Matte, but I use them in a similar way. Similar formula to the Say Dew liquid bronzer, where it looks very skin-like. It looks dewy, but it doesn't feel dewy, and it wears a really long time. Again, you can't build this formula, but it's pigmented enough to where you can just go in with one layer. You know, a little dab will do ya. And then last but not least, do I even have to say it? The e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush, especially in this shade Dusty Rose. This has been my blush of the year. I use this constantly, pretty much on an everyday basis. It's the best liquid blush formula I've tried from the drugstore. Doesn't get patchy, it's super pigmented, but it blends out, wears all day long. If you're in the market for a liquid blush, check out the liquid blushes from e.l.f. For powder blushes, honestly, these Essence Blush Crush powder blushes blew my socks off, especially this one in the shade Caramel Latte. It is just the most perfect nude blush with a little bit of shimmer that makes your cheeks look just healthy and alive. It's gorgeous, very velvety, very smooth. Essence has really great powder formulas for a very great price tag. I also have the shade Deep Rose in the Essence blush. This one is more matte, so I kind of wish they all had that shimmery finish, but some of them are matte, some of them are more shimmery. I do like this one as well, but Caramel Latte is definitely my favorite. This Color Icon blush from Wet n Wild, let me just say, the only reason why this is in my top 3 is just for the color alone. Honestly, the formula is not bad, but these Color Icon blushes from Wet n Wild have never truly been my favorite just because they don't wear the longest on the skin. You have to layer a cream or liquid underneath for you to truly get some longevity out of them. But this shade, I can't deny, I have been wearing it all the time. It's like that perfect sunburnt sort of shade that I just find is so easy to wear. It's so natural, and especially in the summertime, it was just my go-to. So I had to put this in here. I wouldn't necessarily recommend other shades, but this shade in Mellow Wine is something special. Last but not least, in my powder blush category, the Clinique Cheek Pop. These are an amazing, amazing formula. I have 2 shades, Pink Honey Pop and Nude Pop, but Nude Pop is my first love and my true love. It's just the perfect everyday blush that doesn't look like you're wearing blush, but it adds just the slightest amount of color. It gives you that healthy, luminous glow to the skin without emphasizing pores, texture. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous formula that has been around forever, but not enough people talk about it. They literally nailed it with this formula. Last complexion product, setting spray. I have 2 that are more like priming sprays, I would say, because they don't necessarily extend the wear of your makeup, but they do hydrate the skin and just help like all of the powders sink into the skin. So if you have dry skin, or if you just go in with too much powder and you want to get like that skin-like finish back, these are really great. And they're also great for prepping your skin if you need to boost up the plumpness, you know, refresh your skin before going with makeup. So the Neutrogena Radiant Setting Spray, Healthy Skin, Radiant Healthy Skin Setting Spray. This is actually a little bit pricey for the drugstore, but it is really great. I can't deny the quality. Every time my skin is looking a little parched, a little bit too matte, I will go in with this, and it always just helps to revive my skin and make me look nice and alive again. Same goes for the Moira Hydra Priming Setting Spray. This is very similar to the Neutrogena. I use them interchangeably, but I wanted to mention both because they both are amazing. And then the main setting spray I use to extend the wear of my makeup to really lock things in is the Milani Make It Last. I've gone through multiple of these, and I just think it's one of the best setting sprays that really helps to extend the wear of your makeup. Works like a charm. Works like a charm. Moving on to lips. This is probably the biggest category of them all. Starting off with lip liner. Let me just preface this by saying that I like a lip liner most of the time that is very creamy, very pigmented, and also very long wearing. These three formulas I'm going to share with you are not necessarily going to be the most precise. These are going to give you a lot of impact, a lot of pigment, but they do lock down, which is why I love them. So the first and the most affordable is from Moira, the Look Heal Waterproof Liner. I have two shades, but my favorite shade is Discreet, which is a slightly deeper neutral brown. Definitely not a my lips but better shade, but I do like that it's kind of like that 90s moment lip liner. It's not too deep, but it's just deep enough to sort of make a little bit of a statement, and I love, again, that it wears really long. I'm not going to repeat myself too much because, like I said, they're all very similar in their formula. Two that launched this year that I cannot get enough of. The one I'm wearing today is Makeup Forever, the Artist Color Pencil, but this is the extreme version. The original Artist Color Pencil looks like this. I have this one in Wherever Walnut, the viral pencil. So Makeup Forever launched this same sort of shade range, but with a different formula that is way more long wearing, waterproof, all that stuff. I'm a super big fan of their Aqua Resist lip liners, but those ones have always had a very limited shade range. So when I saw that Makeup Forever was coming out with another long wear lip liner, but with more shades, especially more nude shades, I was so excited and I ordered this immediately, and I do really, really love this pencil. It is the liner that I'm wearing today, and I have the shade Anywhere Caffeine. So if you love the shades of the original Artist Color Pencils, but you wanted it to be a little bit more pigmented and definitely a lot more long wearing, definitely check out the Artist Color Pencil Extremes. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And then last but not least, the Traced Out Pencil Lip Liners from Fenty Beauty. I have the shade Satin Panty, and I definitely want to get all the shades, more shades. I wish there were some slightly lighter brown nudes, but I'm definitely eyeing Peanut Butter, I should say, and Rubber Bands. This is probably the most emollient creamy out of all of the formulas, but again, it dries down and locks in place. So I love it. If you like a similar formula to me in a lip liner, you will love any of these three options. For lip treatments, an OG favorite that I've loved for years is the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask. It comes in a little tub like this. Usually you do get a little spatula when you first open the box, and you can use that to scoop out the product, but I'm dirty and I just go in straight with my fingers. I mean, I'm the only one using it, so it's fine. But this, whenever my lips are feeling super dry, like on the verge of cracking, bleeding, if I use this at night, it saves my lips, no joke. It's expensive, but you get a lot of product. It lasts a really long time, and it is so effective. If you don't want to splurge on the Laneige, the Aquaphor Lip Repair is very effective as well. It really does help to soothe and heal dry, cracked, bleeding lips. The only thing I will say about this one is that it tastes terrible, so do not get it in your mouth. It doesn't come in fun smells or taste like the Laneige, but it's much more affordable. So, you know, pick your poison there, choose your battles. And then a newer love is the Persona Day Mask Peptide Lip Balm. I have the shade June, which is just a gorgeous, slightly peachy, pinky, brownish nude. It's very sheer, but I like that for when I'm wearing no makeup and I want to just pop a little lip mask on, but it's still going to add a little bit of pigment, a little bit of color to sort of liven up the complexion. I love the formula of this. It's super hydrating, not sticky. My favorite thing about it though is this applicator. It has a slight curve to it, so it just hugs the lips so perfectly, and there's something so satisfying about that. The packaging is amazing, so definitely wanted to give this one a shout out. One of my favorite lip formulas is a lip stain. I love a long wearing lip product, but liquid lipsticks usually sort of crack off weirdly, sink into the lines. They're not always the most flattering, but I do find a lip stain to be very undetectable. You don't really feel it on the lips most of the time, and it wears all day, which is the trifecta of what I want out of a lip product. My favorite lip stain formula is from Romand, which is a K-beauty brand. You can get them off Amazon or off of YesStyle, and they're super affordable. affordable, probably like $8 to $12 depending on where you purchase them. I have two shades, well I have more than two shades, but my two favorite shades are Nucademia and Pomelo Skin. I'm wearing Pomelo Skin today on the inside of my lips. It's not the most long wearing stain, let me just say that, but it does stain your lips. It gives a little bit of color that wears a really long time, but when you first apply them, it sort of feels like a cooling gel going on your lips. I have never experienced anything quite like it, but it feels so good. It's very hydrating. This never dries out your lips. Never dries out your lips. They're hydrating, they wear a long time, and the shades, especially these two shades, are just the perfect like everyday lip colors. Another favorite, the Maybelline Superstay Vinyl Inks. This is a magical formula because it wears all day. Like this wears longer than the Romand, but it's a similar feeling when you apply them. It's not as cooling as the Romand, but it has like a gel sort of feeling that sort of glides over the lips, and it feels like you're applying, yeah, just like a gel kind of. It gives you a little bit of a gloss, not super glossy, and it does sort of wear away as the longer that you wear them, but the color stays behind. But it's not like a liquid lipstick where it feels thick or cakey on the lips. It never sinks into the lines. It doesn't like crumble off in little pieces. It's just a magical formula. I have so many shades because, oh gosh, I love them so much. And then the last lip stain formula that I love, that I believe launched this year, these are the Color Fetish Hydrating Lip Stains from Milani. Similar idea, goes on kind of feeling like a gel, has a little bit of a glossy effect. The glossiness will wear off, but the color will stay behind. And I love how vibrant this one is. This is probably the most staining and the most vibrant out of the three that I'm sharing with you. But I think it's really pretty for a more pop, and you can definitely sheer it out if you don't want something as intense. I do hope that Milani extends the shade range in the future, but for now I have the shade Rose Rising, which is a really pretty gorgeous mauve rose shade that I think is so pretty, especially for the fall. Okay, the lip oil that I am wearing today is the NYX Fat Lip Drip Lip Oil, and this is not a new product. I've loved this for a couple years now, but NYX did recently expand their shade range and they released a lot more nude neutral colors, which I was super happy about. I picked up the shade Splash of Cream, which is just the most beautiful, like beigey, slightly peach, lighter nude. And this formula, it's a little bit thicker than you would think when you hear lip oil, but not too thick. It's not sticky, super glossy on the lips, and it smells like fruity candy. It's delicious. And I really love how pigmented they are. They're kind of as pigmented as a gloss would be, which I like, but they feel more hydrating than a gloss. I'm also a really big fan of the Glow Reviver lip oils from e.l.f. These are much more sheer than the NYX. Most of the shades are going to look very similar unless you get a super deep shade. I have the one Rose Envy. It just tints the lips slightly. This one has more of a minty smell, so if you don't like mint, you're not going to like this, but it is very nourishing on the lips. It's not super glossy. It's just more of a lip treatment, I would say. And then my last favorite is the new lip oils from ColourPop. I think they're So Juicy lip oils. I don't know where I put mine. I'm so mad. I've been looking high and low for this lip oil. I have the shade Hit Stiff. It's probably in a pocket or a purse somewhere because I was just using it all the time. It is so gorgeous. So smoothing, so shiny, so pigmented, kind of like a gloss, but it's not sticky, and I don't know, there's something about it that just feels so good on the lips. My one qualm with it is the packaging is really annoying because it's so hard to get the doe foot out. The stopper is much too stoppy, so I hope that ColourPop fixes that in the future. But aside from that, it's a glorious formula, and I really do hope they also expand the shade range to have more nudes. Oh, starting to get hot. Okay, we're almost done. So I included this category, which I'm not entirely sure what to call it. Sort of like the glossy lipstick, lip balm, lip gloss hybrids. In this category, we have those like click up gloss sticks. And also this product, which I love dearly. This is the new High Shine Gloss Stick from Fenty Beauty. I have the shade Spice Cold. All of these are very similar in that they give you a lot of pigment, lipstick level pigment with gloss level shine, and they're as nourishing as like a lip balm. So it's kind of like all the best things in one. A lot of brands have been coming out with this type of formula lately, but the ColourPop So Juicy is amazing. amazing. The most pigmented out of the three is the Fenty, followed by the ColourPop. The NYX is probably the most balm-like in that it doesn't have as much color and it's not as emollient. I find the formula to be just a hint stiffer, but it's actually sort of an advantage in the sense that it wears longer on the lips. So for an everyday moment, I do find myself reaching for the NYX Fat Oil Slick Clicks because they're not as thick on the lips and they just wear a little bit longer. I have the shade Going Viral, which is just a perfect everyday lip color for me. I don't usually wear a traditional lipstick, but I do have three that I really do enjoy, and if you are more of a traditional lipstick gal, I wanted to throw these in there. The new Slim Stick long-lasting lipsticks from Essence. First of all, I really like the packaging of this. I appreciate that they didn't go for the normal lipstick tube, but there's something modern, I feel, about the elongated, slimmer packaging. This is a really, really nice matte lipstick formula. It feels very cloud-like on the lips. It's very smoothing, and it is very long wearing without drying out the lips. I have the shade Brick Road. If you like more of a satin finish lipstick, the Revlon Super Lustrous lipsticks are really great, and I especially love the shade Bare Affair. Just the perfect lighter nude that if you have more of an olivey complexion like me, it doesn't wash you out. It's not a very cool toned lighter nude, which I do find to be the case with a lot of drugstore lipsticks, and it feels very comfortable on the lips as well. For a more traditional lipstick package, the Makeup Revolution, I forget what these are called. These launched earlier this year. These are their matte lipsticks. And first of all, the packaging is gorgeous, looks and feels very high-end. This is similar to the Essence in that it's a matte lipstick that doesn't feel drying. It's very smoothing and cloud-like on the lips, and it comes in a lot of really great nude shades. I have the shade Wifey Dusky Pink, which is a beautiful deeper rose shade, but I do want to pick up more shades because I do quite enjoy the formula. Even though I'm not much of a lipstick person, these lipsticks are so good that I do find myself wearing them more than I think that I usually would. For glosses, I really have been enjoying the Lottie London Plumped AF Sheer Plumping Lip Gloss. This is a very thick lip gloss, so just be careful you don't apply too much, but it's very, very shiny, very smoothing on the lips, and it does slightly plump the lips. So it does sting a little bit, but not as much as other lip plumpers that I've tried. I also am a big fan of Essence Extreme Shine Volume Glosses, and I really do love the shade Gold Dust. If you like a sparkly gloss, this is a great one. And then, of course, the NYX Butter Glosses are just a staple. This is not the most shiny lip gloss formula, but there's something about it that really grips onto the lips and wears a good amount of time for a lip gloss without being goopy or sticky. And I really love the shade range of the NYX Butter Glosses. The Butter Glosses just have so much variety and they're very affordable. I especially love the shade Praline. Moving on to eyes. I feel like I've been here for 5 hours. 3 eye palettes. The Anastasia Nouveau palette is the eye palette that I'm wearing today. I love Anastasia's formula. The mattes are a little bit more powdery, but they're so pigmented, so blendable, and I love the color story of this. It just inspires me so much. I also had to mention, oh gosh, the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 palette. This is just a staple matte palette. There's nothing too exciting about it, but this matte white is the best matte white I've ever tried, and this matte black is the best matte black I've ever tried. I love that you get cool tones, warm tones. His formula is amazing, very pigmented, very blendable. It's expensive, but I do think it is very useful and very good quality. And then last but not least, I love this Ensley Rain Lands of Enchantment palette. This is my I want to play and have fun with color and different textures. There's holographic shades in here, there's multi-chromes, there's glittery shades. This rivals Pat McGrath's formula, but it's more affordable than Pat McGrath. There's other color stories if you don't like cool tones. The e.l.f. Lash Extender and the Milani Highly Rated Mascara. These are both 2 big mascaras. I love these for every day because they're super easy to remove. You just apply a little bit of warm water and you pinch them off and they come off in little tubes. The e.l.f. is probably a little bit more beginner friendly because it's a bit of a drier formula. The Milani can get very clumpy very quickly if you're not careful, so you just have to kind of wipe off the brush with the Milani. If you want a super long wearing, like this will not budge, you can be out in a tsunami mascara. The Clio Kill Lash is amazing for being no budge, and it really does hold my curl all day long. If you have very stubborn lashes that like to point down to the ground, this will hold your curl. For eyeliners, the Pixie Endless Silky Eye Pens. These are very, very pigmented, very glidey, very creamy, but they do set down. I love these pencils for a smoky eye. They're easy to blend out and they're just so pigmented. I want to collect all the shades. These Epic Smoke Liners from NYX, I don't use in the traditional sense of like how you would think you use an eyeliner. I don't really use them to line my eyes. I use them more as a shaping tool for an eye look, a base for an eye look. Usually I'll go in with this nude haze shade and just apply it to the lash line, to the outer corner, and then you have this little buffing little brush on the side that you can use to blend it out. You can also just use any of your makeup brushes. It's probably the most creamy eyeliner, which is why it's not really a normal eyeliner. It's definitely meant to smudge out, which is why I like them so much. So I have 3 shades: Mauve Grit, Nude Haze, and White Smoke. The last one is similar to the NYX. This is the Nabla Cupid's Arrow Full Color Silo. Again, it's not really an eyeliner per se. It's a little bit thicker, sort of like the NYX, but it's, again, very creamy, so you can blend it out and just make your eyeshadows pop. Anything you layer on top of it is going to last longer. It's going to be more intense. I like to use this in the same way that I use the NYX to shape out my eye look, to add some definition, and also on the lower lash line to create some definition without worrying about like a powder fallout. For liquid liners, the One Size Point Made liner. This is a felt tip liner. It never gets dried out at the tip. It's really easy to use, and I love the shade of this one in Busty Brown. It's perfect for an everyday look. I've also been really enjoying the LA Girl Artist Brush Pen Eyeliner. I'm not much of a brush eyeliner person, but there's something about the shape of this one and the length of it that makes it really easy to use. It's also super pigmented and very black, so it just glides across the lid. You don't have to go over it multiple times, and it wears all day long. And then last but not least, I love the Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner from Stila. This is a felt tip. This is slightly stiffer than the One Size, so if you like a very stiff felt tip, I would recommend the Stila. If you like something a little bit more flexible, the One Size Point Made is where it's at. It's very pigmented, the tip doesn't get dried out, and it dries down very matte. Okay, lastly for brows, my favorite brow pen is from NYX, the Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. I like the one from Milani as well, but I like this one better because it's not as pigmented. Sometimes I find that brow pens can be a little bit too intense, too deep, too pigmented, and it just winds up looking like a Sharpie. It's not the most long-wearing brow product, but it is the best for getting like a fluffy, hair-like, natural-looking brow. It's really great at creating those hair-like strokes. For brow pencils, I really love the Maybelline Express Brow in medium brown, and I love the Milani Precision Brow Pencil in, I think it's in soft brown or espresso. They're just like the traditional skinny tip brow pencil with a spoolie, but they're not too creamy, they're not too dry. They are the perfect like middle of the road consistency. They wear a really long time, and the shades of these brow pencils are amazing. They don't have a warm reddish undertone, which I find to be the case with a lot of brow pencils, especially brow pencils from the drugstore. And last but not least, we have gotten here, friends, my brow gels. I've been using this Clean Fresh brow gel from CoverGirl a lot. I think it's good. I just reach for it a lot. I'm not sure if I love the formula, which is weird to say. It's like, why do I reach for it if I don't know if I love it? I like it. The only thing I don't like about it is that it doesn't dry down fully, but I like that it is very good at shaping the brows and separating the hairs, if that makes sense. I don't think it's like my favorite of all time, but it's my most used, so I had to include it. One that I don't have, but that I highly recommend, the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. That is amazing. I used up an entire one of those. I also really love the Benefit 24-hour Brow Setter, the clear one. It never feels heavy in the brows, but it does separate the brows nicely, and I love the applicator of that one. It has a flat side and also a little brush that's slightly more spiky, so there's something about it that just makes combing through each hair really easy. All right, friends, we are here. Those are my current top 3 makeup products in every category. If you watched to the end, thank you so much. You are the sweetest thing ever. I know this was a long one, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think it's really telling to hear what people's top 3 favorites are, especially when they have a larger collection. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.